All right, good morning, everyone. My name is Mitchell. Thanks for hopping on today's CI Chit Chat. Really excited to be with a ton of you here today that we wanted to really go through what is the process for getting your CI score. We're having tons of interest on getting this score, and I think it is critical that you understand the opportunity here. I'll tee things up just a little bit. I'm going to provide a demo here today and absolutely take some questions. So get those in the chat. We've got a couple of them that have come in throughout this week already. Talk to your Continuum Ag or TopSoil rep, your dealer if you've got questions. We do these CI Chit Chats every single Tuesday at 7:45. This is recorded. It'll be on our YouTube page, so it can be shared and anybody can see it from there. So, all right, to tee things up real quick, like we do every single week. If you're new to this, carbon intensity is essentially the carbon footprint per bushel. Think of it as every single pass across the field has a carbon footprint. We're burning fuel, we're applying fertilizer, we're applying manure, whatever it may be. Every pass across the field has a carbon footprint. We document all that. And that footprint is divided by the bushels coming off of that field, the yield. And the footprint per bushel is essentially carbon intensity. That's to simplify it. This is really important because carbon intensity is a critical metric in the energy space. Carbon intensity has been a metric and calculated via the GREET model, which the U.S. Department of Energy launched in the 90s. We were supposed to get a new GREET model, an updated GREET model on Friday, and it was all hyped up. Secretary Vilsack was coming to the Commodity Classic. I was down there, so was Steven from our agronomy team. And then Vilsack said, we're actually not going to release it. Like we said, we're going to wait. So we're still waiting. So it stinks, but it's part of it. So today, what you'll be seeing is the GREET model that was released just about 2 months ago. It was released in January. But we know that there will be an updated model coming likely later this month. It's with that CI score that we can calculate the carbon intensity of corn or soybeans, and that carbon intensity of those crops is part of the carbon intensity of biofuel. And the lower the carbon intensity of the biofuel, the more 45Z tax credit that could be created. And we've got to get going on this because about 6 billion bushels of corn goes into biofuel every year. Therefore, as part of that biofuel carbon intensity score, a lot of soybeans, of course, go into biofuel as well. But these tax credits start on fuel produced in 2025, meaning fuel produced in 25, produced with crop grown in 24. We've got to get on getting our CI scores and getting them now. So we are in position and ready to rock and roll. So let me show you guys how to get that done. Today's demo is going to be, here's how, as a dealer, you can invite farmers and fill out the profile for them, or they can go in and fill out the profile. Farmer, I'll show you where you jump in, where you can join TopSoil and go straight to completing your crop profile. And we'll show you how the score works from that and show you how to work towards monetizing. So without further ado, this is also this is my quick version of getting your carbon intensity score via Continuum Ag's TopSoil tool. We'll continue to let people in here as well. Okay, if you're brand new to TopSoil, if you are a dealer, click on the dealer portal. If you're a new farmer, click on the new customer tool, and you'll just create a simple account. It takes just a couple seconds. I'm already a user. Imagine that. And so I tap log in. It's saved on my computer here, so it automatically logged me in. But typically there you'd have your email and password. For a dealer, the best way to get started in helping one of your farmers to get their carbon intensity score is to invite growers. This links them underneath your dealer account and tells us and our system that this farmer is your farmer. So let's say this is Farmer Bill. I'm just going to make some stuff up. So what this does, first name, last name, their email, this sends them an email invitation to accept your invitation, join Topsoil, and set up a password. Let's see, I'll just put in the rest of my info here since it's already saved. And acres managed, we'll just say an even 1,000. Basically just being able to calculate overall impact. So what is really important here is the county. So get that city, state, just make that close enough. But the county is really important here. So the GREET model is county based. So make sure that you address that county component. After hitting continue, that sent an invite. And then if you've got just a couple folks on your left-hand side here, you can just tap on that farmer. Let's see, what did I name that guy? That wasn't it. Here's Farmer Bill. So upon inviting a farmer, tap on their name on the left-hand side and then tap this farm profile button. There's not a whole lot that you can do in topsoil here without filling out the farm profile. As you see, everything else is grayed out. So step one, tap on the farm profile tool. This gives you a simple pop-up and helps to kind of walk through the whole process. I believe when a farmer first logs in, there's a little tutorial as well that you can kind of see. It shows you how to navigate the system. But welcome to the farm profile tool. We are just going to be adding in some defaults here today, just some general management practices. So get started on that. Today, the CI scoring is corn or soybeans only. We've got a variety of other crops in there. We'll continue to add other crops. You can utilize those and still keep a farm profile. You can utilize this tool for consulting purposes, but for CI, it's just corn and soybeans in our system today. So I tapped on corn, that added it to my list. Let's go through some scenarios here. Let's say that we are not using cover crops today. So we're going to tap that button that we don't use. Therefore, we're not terminating the cover crop. If you are using the cover crop, the date doesn't have to be perfect. Rate and stuff doesn't have to be perfect. We do ask for date, species, rate, and planting method. In the GREET model, it's most important to know, did you get the cover crop on or not? And then at termination, same type of concept. For fertilizer, we just need the basics here as well. Let's say that we are in a fall hog manure kind of program where we're applying some hog manure in November. We're going to say we're at 3,500 gallons and we are injecting that hog manure and we've got a stabilizer in with it. Submit. Now we're going to add some spring fertilizer program. So let's say that we are going to be putting on a little bit of 32% with the planter. We're going to be dribbling out the back, call it 15 gallons, dribbled out the back of the planter applied, and we'll just call it good with that. Just again, making this really simple here for today. If you do want to edit any of this, there's an edit button right here that just pops up the application. You can edit. If you want to delete one, there's a little trash can button right there. So really simple to be able to edit this. Nitrogen is most important, but phosphorus, potassium, if you're applying, MAP, DAP, potash, those kind of things. Micronutrients aren't super important at this point, at least for doing the base farm profile. So nitrogen, P and K, all of that good stuff. On tillage, let's say that we are doing just a quick spring, let's call it like a vertical till before planting. Since we had hog manure out there in the fall, say we're just going to level some of that off, a quick vertical till, super shallow. In the GREET model, there's 3 options for tillage. There's conventional till, reduced till, and no till. In our system, we say strip till, vertical till. Those can be in the reduced till bucket because they're leaving most of the residue on the surface. Anything more than that, we're calling conventional till. If the farmer is no till, tap this box over here that says I don't use, meaning I don't use tillage, therefore I have no till. Okay, so next, time to plant some corn. We're going to go out there, say in April, and we are going to plant some corn on the 22nd, 30-inch spacing. Let's say we're doing 240 bushel corn. And I had 1,000 acres. Let's say we're 50-50 corn and soybeans. We do have this built out for other countries around the world as well, hence the variety of different units. But that yield is important. Date, not super important in the GREET model. For today, I'm going to show you again the quick version of getting through the pesticide stuff. So let's just make it really simple on the pesticides that we are burning down our cover crop with Roundup. And let's say that we are using 32 ounces to the acre. The pesticides are factored into the GREET model, but when I'm quickly onboarding a farmer, I'd like to go quick through this process because it impacts the score. But in this simple default farm profile, it doesn't matter enough for me to spend too much time. Now, when you are actually certifying the CI score and we are documenting the actual practices, yes, we've got to have the actual practices, the actual date, actual rate, actual product. But today, with the base farm profile, or when you're onboarding a farmer, don't get too overly complicated. The most important ones are the cover crop, the tillage, the fertilizer, yield. So here, let's say we're harvesting our crop in the fall. We're not removing any of the residue. Let's say we're not irrigating. I'll show you real quick. If you were, we just ask what type of irrigation, how many units. But we're in Southeast Iowa here. We're saying we're not irrigating. And the last piece is our energy usage. This is probably going to be one of the toughest ones, I think, for us to really document what is actually going on. And one of the biggest things for going forward that is going to impact the scores, but it's going to be really tough to document all of this stuff. So based on my practices there, we're probably around 5.5 gallons of diesel fuel. Let's call it half a gallon of gasoline. We're not using natural gas, but we are drying our corn with LP, and we're using some electricity. These numbers that were in there that you saw are actually the defaults from the GREET model. Okay, so we pre-populate, and that happened on the herbicide one too, if you caught that. On the herbicide and on the energy usage, GREET provides some default numbers that we populate for you. If you know your numbers, though, or have at least on this point some quick estimates, you can plug those in. Let's see. So that was onboarding in the profile. So the quick and dirty version, and boom, there it calculated my score 0.1. So that is reduced tillage, and the big driver here being the manure. Okay, so this was Washington County, Iowa, utilizing manure and utilizing the rest of these fertilizer practices. In the calculator tool, it shows you your entered practices. Then you can toggle practices by typing or by using the drag tool. You can tap recalculate and recalculate that potential carbon intensity score. If you are a farmer, you don't necessarily see this score right away. After you complete your farm profile, there is a $500 paywall over the top of that score. Dealers, you can go in, you can see those scores, you can help your farmers to navigate that score. But we do have a paywall over this just to kind of track who is getting in there. Obviously, we've spent a lot of money building this system and making it so easy. I mean, shoot, what was that? Maybe 6-7 minutes, and I was blabbing like I do. I plugged in our farm profile, and boom, there's a great CI score of 0.1. Super low score. The county default for Washington, in TopSoil, we use a standard default number so that it's consistent across the board of 29.1. Washington County, Iowa is actually 29.4, but we use 29.1 for easy, consistent math and marketing. The total potential value of the 45Z credit is based on the delta between the county score versus the farmer score multiplied by the value per point per bushel, which in this case we use 5.4 cents, which is the total potential value for a ethanol plant who is creating 2.7 gallons of fuel per bushel. Because per gallon, the maximum potential 45Z value is 2 cents per gallon. 2 cents times 2.7 is 5.4 cents per gallon. 5.4 cents multiplied by the delta between the baseline and the farmer score gives us the financial opportunity per bushel. Take those bushels multiplied by the yield, which in this case was 240. That math should work out to be this $376 an acre, 157 or $1.57 a bushel. So huge financial opportunity here for farmers and biofuel companies to work together. As a farmer, as an agronomist, we're not going to see a penny of this money without collaborating with our biofuel partners because it's a biofuel production tax credit. But biofuel producers aren't going to get this data, at least in bulk and at scale. They're not going to get this data unless they share adequately with those farmers. And we will see what happens. There's companies that are starting to claim that they'll give the farmer all of the money, less their expenses. They'll cover their expenses, but give the farmers all of the 45Z opportunity because they want that low carbon corn. Most ethanol companies that I'm talking with are saying they'll probably be in the realm of give the farmer a third to 50% of this money. Nonetheless, huge opportunity. The next step here is, now that we know our score, the next step is to get it verified, get it certified, which essentially means we need to get this score for each field. Because what I did today, I started a brand new account from scratch. And in 7-8 minutes, we had a CI score. Now what we've got to do is enroll in the CI certification program. We charge $5 an acre. You can check out right here at this orange button. Also, if you are logged in on the farmer account, there are payment buttons on the right-hand side of the dashboard here as well. On my account, it doesn't show, but on the right-hand side, there's really simple payment buttons. And then there is the add field button here now as well. So you can check out. And then next is to add fields, because we now know our score in general of the crop. $5 an acre. We assist you with adding your fields, adding in the actual application maps, the receipts, the shapefiles, and calculating the CI score for each field. As we get close to harvest, we are going to be bringing in all the final data, sharing that information with the third-party verifier upon the farmer's request. There's going to be a attestation letter and a data release that you want to get verified. So we push this data to the third-party verifier. We have all these fancy reports and all this stuff that happens as you go through and do all the rest of these steps. Obviously, I just started a brand new account here to work off of today. But that farmer can go all the way through and get those get things verified for each field. One of the things that they can also do is document, okay, well, what would happen if I change practices? So this is a decision-making tool. So you can settle for the score that you got today. Obviously, this is a freaking awesome score, huge financial opportunity, because manure is really valuable in this system. But what's even just as valuable or more valuable for most counties, especially further south and kind of around that I-80 corridor, cover cropping is a huge opportunity here. And all I did here was check that cover crop box, and it took my score from 0.1 to negative 13.6 just by adding the cover crop. If we go to no-till, should take it even a little bit further, added another couple points in the negative. So, and look at the financial opportunity here for collaboration. Again, this is farmer, you're going to get a portion of this. Biofuel companies, farmers are a massive part of your solution. Instead of being at a plus 29 for a CI score, you could be at a negative, significant negative. These are legit numbers. This is running the actual GREET model. All we've done here is simplify the front end interface so it's easy for farmers to know what their score is, to know how to improve that score, to pay just $5 an acre to own the data and get it verified. And now what we're building out from here is that you can go and share. There's a send button after we get all the way through. Okay, so next is enroll in the $5 an acre CI certification program, add the fields, document the actuals, get it verified. And now, farmer, you are in control with where you want to share this data and put you in the driver's seat. So with that, let me see what we have got in the chat here. Definitely add those in. How much will using a biological like Pivot Bio lower my CI score? Assuming that you reduce nitrogen by 40 pounds. This is from Tim Cows. Tim, appreciate that. A lot of opportunity here with these biological products and stuff. So let me show you what happens on that. So let's say that we today are at this point one. This is a really simple one, right? That I've only got a little bit of nitrogen in there, but let's say that we cut this down to like 5 gallons of 32% instead of 15. Recalculate that. It did take it down by an extra 2 points or so. So that was a change from 15 gallons of 32% to 5 gallons of 32% that knocked down the score by 2.3 points. So 10 gallons of 32% would be what, about 34, 35 pounds. So not quite the 40 that Tim, you asked in your question, but point being, as you reduce the input side, the numerator side of the equation and maintain the denominator, it does impact the score. So utilizing that biological, it's not massive point difference, but in this case, it was about 2 points, adding about adding the delta between $376 an acre to 406. So what, $30 an acre? And if the farmer is getting a third to half of that money, maybe more in some cases, pretty significant financial opportunity to reduce that fertilizer and utilize biological or other. All right, let's cruise through a couple of these other ones. What fertilizer in the list do you use for 1034? So Brian, appreciate that. We're continuing to add additional fertilizers to the list. In the GREET model today, 1034 is not an option. All they have in the GREET model today is MAP and DAP on the phosphorus side of things. So what I would do here is probably just add it in as a little bit of MAP. I know it's a liquid starter fertilizer, doesn't really make sense, but I'd probably add a little bit of MAP to cover the phosphorus side, a little bit of 32% to cover the nitrogen side of things. Likely that this will continue to be impacted in the future as far as it'll be updated in the GREET model. A couple of gallons of 1034 is not going to be a huge impact on the score. And we will see, working with our third-party verifier, exactly how they would like to count this 1034. But today you can also select other in the fertilizer section, or most of the sections of the questionnaire have an other section. So you can tap other and add in that 32 or add in that 1034 in that other section. So is your score determined by your current practices or those that you'll plan to implement? Is it tied to any FSA or USDA reporting? From John. John, that's awesome. This is the score that I ran today, which was a 0.1. That is based on the current practices. And that's what I love so much about this CI thing, guys. It's not about the change of practice. It's not about what you had done or what you will do. It's about what are your practices for calendar year, crop year 2024. I should have said crop year, not calendar year, because it's fall of 23, goes into crop year 2024. So this is just what are your practices? We're just documenting that, running the CI score. It's not directly tied to FSA or USDA programs. If you're in one of those cost share programs, you can still count those practices towards CI. We do not have the final rules as to if you're able to be in two different carbon programs, but I highly doubt that you'll be able to be in two different carbon programs. I think the registries in the carbon offset programs will not like that. So you can stack cost share with CI, but you cannot stack two different carbon programs. But this is your current practices for that crop year. What did you actually do? And we're basically verifying it just like organic farmers do. Document all the practices per field, get it verified per field, and be able to sell at a premium. How will animal manure be utilized towards the CI score? Will an application of hog manure count as a tillage pass? From Michael. Appreciate that question. So in this example that I ran today, I used hog manure because it lowers the CI score significantly. And I'm in Washington County, Iowa, where we got a lot of hog manure. But so what the GREET model asks is what species and what rate. Hog manure, cattle, turkeys, chickens, dairy, whatever the manure source is, doesn't matter that much. There's, of course, some nuances to it. and we'll see what the new version of the GREET model does. But the most important thing is checking that box that we've got the manure out there, light rates of manure across more acres, be more efficient with that nutrient. That helps a lot. So get that manure out there. It really, really helps to lower the score. The biggest drivers in most counties is cover crop, manure, reduced or no-till, and then cutting back on synthetic fertilizer. Because the pass itself is not necessarily a tillage pass, it's a fertilizer application pass. I don't count it as tillage. And also, we're waiting for what is the definition of those buckets going to be. Because it is disturbing some of the residue, maybe it'll be in the reduced till bucket. But since it's a fertilizer application pass and not a passive tillage on its own, today we don't count it as a tillage pass. But again, we'll wait and see what the details end up being. Still document it, and we'll put it into the right categorical bucket when the time is right. Brian asking, is the herbicide rate a simple ounces per acre conversion to grams per acre by volume? Yeah, so Brian, the GREET model calculates the herbicides and insecticides based on grams per acre, not ounces, not gallons, not pounds. How we actually document on our farms today, they use grams per acre. So what I did is I had one of the interns that looked up all kinds of these different pesticides, and we actually built out a table that converts from ounces to grams. So farmer, you can enter the data based on your farmer units for all of these different items. So like hog manure, I use gallons, right? GREET uses tons. Well, we convert it for you. For pesticides, I put it in as ounces. GREET uses grams. We run the conversion for you. So you can select the units in the farm profile, and the back end runs the conversions for you. On the certification process, what we do is you tap on the CI certificate, purchase CI certification orange button. Once you check out, you can add your fields. But more so, we will assign you a Regen Success agronomist who will tag team with your dealer if you have one, or we'll work with you directly to add in your fields and get you going on that certification pathway. So get your score, like I showed today. You can purchase CI certification to get you set up to monetize this score in 2024 and 2025, which means we need to have that score verified. It's got to be legit. These companies are paying for the data. But once you purchase, you can add fields, but just know that somebody from our team will reach out and will help you to get things going. There's a lot more automation that we are building, but that will come. What's the cost figured on? And did you not use the exact acres when finding the CI score? Yeah, so it's not the exact acres. So Jody, thanks for the question. So this is the GREET model is county based, not field based. And that's why we're able to do this so easy and got the CI score in under 10 minutes. Okay. Because it's what county are you in and what are your management practices? So that is what we are running. It's the actual GREET model. What I believe in the future, it might be more field by field and more nuanced based on your soil type and stuff. But today it's county by county. The cost, yeah, so the cost there on so I think it's maybe our cost, we charge $5 an acre. If you're just unlocking the score, we do just have a flat $500 paywall on there. But again, dealers, you can go in there and you can see it. Brian, can you explain the 2 cents per point 45Z opportunity? It states that it's $1 max benefit if they meet prevailing wage and registered apprenticeship, which is again why it's the maximum tax credit is 2 cents per CI point reduced per gallon. The money starts when a ethanol CI gets to 50 or below. So every point that they are below 50 is worth 2 cents. So if you are at 56 today, you get nothing until you're below 50. For every point the ethanol plant is below 50, they earn up to 2 cents per gallon. If you go from 50 all the way down to 0, that's a 50-point drop. At 2 cents per point, that's where you get $1 a gallon. So every point below 50, multiply that times 2 to get the gallon level 45Z value. Each plant has a different conversion from gallons to bushels, or bushels to gallons, I should say, and that determines the value per bushel. Tim's asking, yeah, how does GREET treat Pivot Bio? Yeah, so Tim hit on some of that before. Pivot Bio does not go into the GREET model. No biologicals go into the GREET model. All the GREET model asks is what was the fertilizer product and the rate. We know and we help you document the biological, the stabilizer, the split application. We help you to document what the reality was. But because you used a biological, you may have reduced your synthetic fertilizer. That reduction in fertilizer is documented in the GREET model, but the how'd you do it isn't. We help to document. We understand from an agronomic perspective that you use the biological and reduce the fertilizer, but the reduction in fertilizer is what goes into the score. All right, a couple more questions. Sorry, I know I'm over time, but I want to make sure we get to all these here today. Are helping the farmer to locate and partner with an ethanol plant. We are talking with tons of ethanol plants. Thanks, AJ, for this question. We are talking with a good chunk of the ethanol plants. I think I've directly conversed with over 75 of them now. There's about 200 total, though. So if you've got a good connection with your ethanol plant, would love to chat with them as well. Hit me up, send me an email, Mitchell@continuum.ag. Would love to go and meet with those ethanol plants with you. Or if you know somebody that's on the board or have a good connection, would love to chat with those folks. We do anticipate building out some type of a visual map where you can see the different programs that are available and you can go and get compensated based on your data. Now, keep in mind, there's more opportunities out there beyond biofuel. So we do also anticipate being able to map out some of those opportunities or show you guys other opportunities that are available. Like last year, we did a large inset program where farmers were getting up to $19 an acre on beans and up to $25 an acre on corn. Now, it's not crazy money like what we're talking could be the case here with 45Z, but there are things out there. And yeah, AJ, happy to help you to navigate what each plant is doing and help you to find the right opportunities. We are building out our preferred partners, different ethanol companies that we are directly working with. Mike is asking, I have some manure and the rest is synthetic fertilizer. If you co-mingle grain in the storage, do you use an average score for all corn delivered? Yes. So today what I did is just a base, what's my score? Okay. And you can go back and edit the profile and see what your score would be for your cover crop or for your manure fields versus synthetic fields. Okay. You can run those different scores and play around with that. In certification, you'll enroll each of your fields. We document each field individually. Each field will have its own score. Each field will have its own bushels. We submit each of those fields individually to the verifier, and then they are verifying an allotment of bushels from each of those fields. At your grain site, you co-mingle those bushels. We no longer now can tell which field they came from. We co-mingle the bushels, and we co-mingle the CI scores on what's called a weighted average. So if you have 20,000 bushels of a score of -10, and you've got 20 in one field, and you got 20,000 bushels with a score of +10 from another field, you co-mingle those. And now the average CI score ended up in that case being 0. But it's a weighted average from each of your fields. At the elevator, they'll do a weighted average from all of their fields or all their farmers that they work with. At the ethanol plant, it's a weighted average of all of the bushels that they purchase in the year. So on the farm, we are verifying each individual field. But if you're co-mingling those bushels, you will end up with a co-mingled singular carbon intensity score for your grain site. Therefore, every time that you pull a load of corn out of that bin, the consistent carbon intensity score will get put on the scale ticket. That's what we do when they hit the send button and you are delivering grain. You tap send, we push your CI score and your verification ID onto the scale ticket. That's all that gets shared is the score because that's all they need. It's already been verified. If the company does get audited further, we've got your data and help to overcome any potential liability down the road. So, but no, each field, and then we're co-mingling those scores. Dennis, why is manure much lower on the GREET model? Does it have to do with the synthetic nitrogen versus natural in the form of manure? Dennis, good question. In the GREET model today, it's my understanding that manure is looked at as a byproduct. So it doesn't necessarily factor in the footprint of how the manure was created. That footprint stays with the animals, not necessarily going with the manure. But manure in the field has less of a carbon footprint because of the conversion from methane to CO2 equivalents. And that's why synthetic fertilizer gets knocked so bad. So the unit of measure is CO2 equivalents, or in this case of CI, GHG equivalents, which is the same thing. To long story short here, we did a webinar with Dr. Jerry Hatfield. It's on our YouTube page. We did it probably a year ago where we really dug into this. So I'd encourage you to look at that one too. But one CO2 equivalent is what we're looking at. 1 ton of methane is equivalent to about 30 tons of CO2. 1 ton of nitrous oxide is equivalent to nearly 300 tons of CO2. So synthetic fertilizer converted to CO2 equivalents based on the emissions coming off that fertilizer, it just crushes because of those equivalents of 1 ton of nitrous oxide emission being equivalent to 300 tons of CO2. So it really knocks synthetic fertilizer, doesn't knock manure as bad. And part of it is that conversion from nitrous oxide or methane to CO2 equivalent. But manure helps tremendously. Denny, I have fields in Iowa and Minnesota. Does your model use farm data for county standard to calculate CI or field data? Do I have to sign up 2 farms? Okay, great question, Denny. So today what I showed is just what is your base score, right? It's the 10 minutes easy version to just know kind of where we at, where we're sitting, right? So 10 minutes, get your CI score, and it's based on the county that you entered. So use it as your main county. When you enroll in certification, we do run the score for each individual field based on the county that field is in. So you don't have to enroll it in 2 separate payments or 2 separate accounts. You farm it all together. Your grain all gets commingled. Just know that when we are running the scores at the field level, we'll use the actual boundary of the field and the actual county that field resides in, and have that CI score nuanced based on that specific county. So, okay, cruised through those questions. I'm sorry I'm a little bit over time. I hope this was helpful. As Diana put in the chat here, make sure to register for the TopSoil Summit. We've got it coming up June 3rd down here in Riverside, Iowa. We're expecting a huge crowd, and make sure that you get registered to get on the list. Of course, carbon intensity is going to be a massive topic in this year's TopSoil Summit. I'm going to be having some big time folks come in and joining us from the biofuel space, from the 45Z space. Be sure to join. Again, this webinar recorded on the continue my YouTube page. We'll be back again next Tuesday for another CI Chit Chat, just like we are every week at 7:45. Happy to take questions or hit up your TopSoil representative, but hit up TopSoil.ag if you want to see what your CI score is. This is step 1 to making sure that we don't miss out on this incredible opportunity. And hopefully we get some more rules coming from the IRS here really soon. With that, thanks everyone. Have an awesome day.